Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JBHOOps, and today I have my final mock draft of the 2025 draft cycle, the 1 day out edition. Now, this is just going to be what I would do and how I would draft, not what I think will happen. This is going to be a complete mock draft with picks 1 through 60. So let me know your thoughts below, like and subscribe and all that, I appreciate it. I'm very close to 2k subs. And anyway, let's just get right into it. With the first pick in the draft, the Dallas Mavericks are selecting Cooper Flagg. Not much needs to be said here, he's a special talent. I can't believe Dallas lucked into getting him, and there definitely might be something sus going on there after the Luka trade. But Cooper Flagg is headed to Dallas, and I cannot wait to see him hoop. Now we have the Spurs, and I have them taking Dylan Harper. Harper's another pretty obvious pick here, I think. He's the second best guy in this class, and I think he'll be solid enough playing on or off the ball, so I have the Spurs taking Dylan Harper. At 3 with the Sixers is kind of where it gets interesting, as there is a lot of guys they could go with, whether that be Ace Bailey, VJ, Con, even Carmen Maluach has come up. But I personally think VJ Edgecombe is the best player available, so I have them taking him at 3. The Hornets are up at 4, and this is another interesting pick. I think even guys like Asenge and CMB could be in the mix here, but for me, I would probably just go with Con Knipple out of Duke. He fits in nicely next to LaMelo and Brandon Miller. I don't know how the defense will be, but I think they can figure that out with some other pieces, and Brandon Miller and Con are pretty solid on that end. Now at 5, we have the Jazz. They have been heavily rumored and linked to Jeremiah Fears, but I am not sure I would take him that high. I think Carmen, CMB, Asenge, Trey, and Ace Bailey are probably the guys I'd look at. And even though it doesn't seem like he wants to go there, I'm just taking Ace Bailey. He's got a lot of stuff to work on, but the upside is there. And I really like Will Hardy as a coach to develop him. Washington are on the clock at 6, and I have them taking Trey Johnson. They could definitely go with the hometown guy in Derek Queen. Carmen Maluach is still on the board. I have him as a top 4 prospect. And then Fears and CMB could also be interesting picks. But if Ace isn't available, I really like Trey Johnson here. And I think that core group could really benefit from his shooting and shot making. The Pels are up at 7, and I have them taking Carmen Maluach. I think he's the best player on the board at this point. They could go with Jeremiah Fears. I think they'll definitely look to make some moves this offseason. But I really love Carmen Maluach as a prospect. He does the big man things really well, and I think there's some sneaky upside there. So I have them taking him at 7. Now at 8, the Nets are on the clock, and this is another very interesting one. Derek Queen or Jeremiah Fears are probably the highest upside guys, especially offensively. But I think I would personally go with Noah Asenge. I really love his upside at 6'10" with his mobility and defensive versatility, and he's also one of the youngest guys in the class. The Nets desperately need talent, and I think taking a swing on Asenge is a good bet. Now we have the Raptors at 9. I'd definitely be looking into guards right here, maybe a center. Sorba could be an option. I don't think CMB makes a ton of sense next to Scotty. So in this one, I'm choosing between Fears and Jace Richardson, and personally, I prefer Jace Richardson. So the Raptors are taking Jace Richardson at 9. The Suns are up next with the 10th pick, and they need defense desperately. I wasn't a huge fan of the KD return. I think there were better offers available, especially the Timberwolves one. And Jalen Green, Booker, and Beal is a weird fit. But anyway, I think CMB is the best guy left available, and with how great of a defender he is, it just makes sense. So I have the Suns taking CMB at 10. Now we have the Blazers with pick 11. They just traded away Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday. I'm not sure if they just didn't rate Anthony Simons or are legit looking to compete soon. But in any case, I really like Carter Bryant. This is a little bit of a reach for me personally. I know a lot of people have him top 10, but I think he just makes sense with his skill set on both ends. So I have the Blazers taking him at 11. Now at 12, we have the Bulls. I think they desperately need a center. Overall, they don't have a ton of talent. I like Giddey and Kobe White. Martis Buzelis looked really promising last year, but I think they need a 5 to sit next to them, especially one who can anchor a defense. So whilst Derek Queen is super intriguing, I have them taking Thomas Sorba, as he is just such an excellent defender, and he would fit well in the Bulls offense as well. Now at 13, the Hawks are up. They definitely need a center, but I'm just not sure how Derek Queen would fit on this team. So I have them just going with another one of the best players available, which in my opinion is Jeremiah Fears. And he would be a cool addition learning under Trey, or even taking over for him if they choose to eventually move Trey Young. So I have the Hawks taking Jeremiah Fears at 13. Now at 14 is one of my favorite fits in the draft, and that is the Spurs taking Derek Queen. I think Queen will need the right infrastructure around him defensively, and there is no better place than the San Antonio Spurs next to Wemby. He's definitely one of the best prospects available, probably the best, so it just makes sense for the Spurs to take him here at 14. Now at 15, we have the championship winning Thunder. There's not a ton of holes in this roster and they are super talented, but I do think they should definitely get a guard in the offseason. But in the draft, I would be looking at more wings and forwards. And I think Rasheer Fleming with his size, defense, and three-point shooting would really be a nice addition. So I have the Thunder taking him at 15. Now at 16, we have the Grizzlies, who just acquired this pick from the Magic in the Desmond Bane trade. They have a pretty solid young team with good guys at every position. So I'd be looking at wings and forwards here, and I really like Nick Clifford's game. He's super versatile, had an incredible year, and would be fun as another ball handler in Memphis. The Wolves are up at 17. I think they do definitely need a guard, but again, I would probably be looking into trades unless they went with Kasparas Yakashonis. But right now, I think Adu Thero is one of the best players available, and his slashing, athleticism, and defense would fit in perfectly. So I have the Wolves taking Adu Thero at 17. The Wizards are back on the clock at 18 after taking Trey Johnson at 6. I think they probably need another big body to put next to Alex Sarr, and I really love Noah Pender's size, defense, and versatility. So I have the Wizards completing their French front court, taking Noah Pender at 18. Now we have the Nets at 19 after taking Noah Asenge at 8. I think I'd definitely be looking into the guards here. Kasparas Yakashonis and Nolan Traore are probably the main two. They're very close on my board, but right now I would probably give the edge to Nolan Traore. So I have the Nets taking a swing on his upside at 19. Now at 20, we have the Miami Heat, a team known for developing players, and I would love to see what they could do with the skill set and tools of Cedric Coward. So I have Coward headed to the Heat at 20. The Jazz are back on the clock at 21 after taking Ace Bailey at 5, and I think at this point Kasparas Yakashonis is very good value. With his combination of shooting and playmaking, the turnovers and athleticism are a worry, and the Jazz do have some solid young guards, but I still think Yakashonis is very good value here at 21. At 22, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I said before they desperately need a center, so that's where we're headed with this pick. And I think Ryan Kalkbrenner is the best one available. He's super skilled, was incredibly impactful on both ends of the floor, and can even stretch the floor a bit, and he's a great lob threat. He's also a legit 7-1, and the Hawks have been lacking size for a minute, so I just think he makes sense at 22. At 23, I have the Pelicans going with an upside swing, taking Will Riley out of Illinois. They're a strange team with a ton of talent, but just haven't been able to stay healthy. There's also been some rumors around Trey Murphy. They could definitely go in other directions with this pick, but I'm just a big fan of Riley's game, so I have the Pelicans taking him at 23. The Thunder are back on the clock at 24. They took Rasheer Fleming at 15, and now I think they look to get a guard or a wing. And someone who can shoot, defend, and play both of those spots is Tyrese Proctor. Now this is probably a bit high for some, and I am a little biased, but I love Tyrese Proctor's skill set and think the Thunder could get a ton out of him. The Magic are up at 25. We obviously know their shooting sucks. They did get Desmond Bane, which should help a lot, but I have them going with another incredible shooter in Florida's Walter Clayton Jr. I just think he makes sense and would be a great fit in Orlando. Now we have the Nets with back-to-back picks. They still desperately need talent, and I think Asa Newell is the best player available right here. And then at 27, I have them keeping Noah Asenge and his teammate together, taking Ben Sarif. Sarif could learn a lot off D'Lo. He can handle and really pass and is a massive point guard. I have already taken Traore, but Sarif is still a very solid bet. I think they probably look to trade one or two of these picks, but for now, I'm taking Ben Sarif. Now at 28, we have the Celtics, who just traded for Anthony Simons. They have a ton of guards who do similar things, so I think they're probably looking for forwards or bigs, especially with the Tatum injury. I think they also could look to move Kristaps Porzingis, so it will be interesting to see what they get back. But right now, I really like Rocco Zukowski for them. This is probably a lot higher than he will actually go, but I think his upside at 7'4" is very enticing, so I have the Celtics taking him at 28. Now at 29, I have the Suns doubling up on their defense, taking another young, athletic, rim-protecting big in Jean Beringer, and he could probably go a lot higher come draft night. But for now, I have the Suns taking him at 29. With the final pick of the first round, I have the Clippers taking Drake Powell out of UNC. The Clippers probably need to make some moves this offseason, I just don't think they're quite good enough. But Drake Powell is a great athlete and low-usage wing who could really make an impact, and be a very solid piece for their future, so I think he makes sense at 30. Now we move on to the second round with the Timberwolves pick 31, and I have them going with the playmaking and scoring prowess of Marquette's Cam Jones. I think he can play the 1 or the 2, and the Timberwolves could definitely use another ball handler and creator. The Celtics are back on the clock at 32, and I have them going with another upside swing, taking Liam McNeely. Liam didn't have a great year, suffering an injury halfway through, but with his size, shooting, and playmaking, he's definitely a very valuable archetype. The Hornets are up with the 33rd pick, and I have them going with the upside and talent of Bogoljub Markovic. I really like what he can do, especially without the ball. He was very efficient this year, and I even have a first round grade on him, so I like the pick up at 33. It's the Hornets again at 34, and I have them going with the center in Janai Broome. Broome was a dominant college player and should transition to the NBA in a reduced role. Broome was just a dominant college player, and he's a very solid bet in the early second to contribute, so I have them taking him at 34. The Sixers are back on the clock at 35, and I have them taking Alex Tui out of Sydney. I like Tui's defense, and he was billed as a shooter coming out. He definitely has a lot to work on, but could be a solid backup in the league. The Nets are back on with their 5th pick of the draft at 36, and I have them taking Amari Williams out of Kentucky. The 7-footer can defend and really pass. Obviously, I don't think they're taking 5 guys, but I think Amari Williams will be very coveted in the second round. Now at 37, we have the Pistons. I think they need some more ball handling and passing around Cade. I'm not sure what the future holds for Jaden Ivey, and I really like what Javon Small can do, so I have the Pistons taking him at 37. Now at 38, I finally have someone picking up Yegor Demon. This is definitely going to be a lot lower than he goes on draft night. I really would be against someone taking him in the lotto or even top 20. I just think there are a ton of issues there. But he's still very talented, and at 38 there's not much risk, so I have Demon going to the Spurs at 38. The Raptors are up at 39, and I have them taking another guy who's been sitting there on the board for a while, that being Michigan's Danny Wolf. His upside is very intriguing. I'm just not sure he'll get the reps and usage he needs, and I do have some concerns about the physicality, turnovers, and defense, along with him not being a great shooter, so that's why he's quite low for me, but I could definitely understand taking him in the first round. The Wizards are back on the clock at 40, and I have them taking a center going with Hansen Yang out of China. Yang was awesome in the CBA, but it is the CBA, and the mobility is a real concern. But at 40, his talent and upside is worth taking a swing on. Now at this point, the talent in the draft has kind of fallen off a bit, so I'm just going to run through the rest of these picks a bit quicker. But at 41, I have the Warriors going with Sion James out of Duke. He's very versatile and just a winner, so he makes a lot of sense at 41. At 42, I have Sacramento taking a swing on the upside of Hugo Gonzalez. Hugo didn't get a lot of opportunity this season, but he's very talented and was awesome at youth tournaments, so I have them taking him at 42. Now we have the Jazz at 43, and I have them taking Chaz Lanier out of Tennessee. Lanier can really shoot it and tested amazingly well athletically at the Combine, so I think he's a solid pickup at 43. Now we have the Thunder. I think they do need another center, and just someone who can rebound and protect the rim, so I have them taking Auburn's Dylan Cardwell. The Bulls are back on the clock at 45, and I have them going with Will Richard out of Florida. He's athletic, super efficient, excellent off-ball, and plays great D, so it'd be a good addition at 45. At 46, I have the Magic taking Yannick Conan Niederhauser. He's an excellent athlete at 7 foot. He wasn't very productive throughout his college career, but with his tools in a simple role should be able to make an impact. At 47, I have the Bucks taking Maxime Reynal. I am quite worried about the defense, and he didn't have great impact metrics this year, so I'm not as high on him as most, but I still like what he can do offensively and should fit nicely next to Giannis. At 48, I have the Grizzlies taking Jameer Watkins out of Florida State, and I think he's another guy who will be pretty coveted in the second round. Next up at 49, I have the Cavs going with Kadari Richmond. Richmond would need to improve as a shooter and finisher, but his defense and advantage creation would be really nice to have, so I have the Cavs taking him at 49. At 50, I have the Knicks taking John Tonje. He's an off-ball weapon with excellent touch, so should definitely get a look in the second round. I like Kobe Sanders for the Clippers at 51, with his handling and well-rounded game, although I do think the defense will be a struggle. At 52, I have the Suns going with the ridiculous shooting of Kobe Bryant. The defense is rough, but CMB and Beringer should at least be able to help on that end. And at 53, I have the Jazz taking the third Kobe in a row, taking UCLA's Kobe Johnson, who can provide elite defense on the wing. Now at 54, we have the Pacers, and after Hallie's injury, I have them going with the bucket-getting guard who can also pass, and is also a very impressive movement shooter, that being Max Schulger. The Lakers are up at 55. Obviously, the Lakers need a center. I think they definitely look to acquire one by trade, but for now, I have them going with Vlad Golden out of Michigan. The Knicks pick has been forfeited from the tampering stuff, so I'll just put Boogie Fland, who isn't in the draft. Now at 57, I have the Grizzlies taking Dink Pate, betting on his size, upside, and tools. For the Magic at 58, I like Nebraska's Bryce Williams. He's got solid size and can get buckets from anywhere on the floor. At 59, I have the Cavs going with Nova's Eric Dixon, who's a skilled forward who can really stretch the floor. And now finally, with the last pick in the draft, I have the Suns taking RJ Lewis Jr. out of St. John's, who could make an impact with his size, defense, and offensive versatility. Alright, that is it for me, my final 1 day out mock draft. I'll put a better picture of the full first round and then go back to this screen. Here is my full first round, and now this is the entire draft. I'm not sure how to just get a second round screen, that would be cool. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you like or dislike who I picked for your team. Remember, this is just what I would do, not what I think will happen. And anyway, make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support. It's been very fun covering this draft. And anyway, that's all I got. JBHOOps out.